Um, just wanted to introduce myself real quickly and then we'll get started. I want to make sure though, before we get into the presentation, that I'm addressing the questions and information that everyone who's involved would like and appreciate. My actual position with Clark Associates is I'm director of their charitable foundation. I was brought on to take care of all their charitable giving. But then when I first started with the company was in such a growth pattern that they looked at me as having been a retired educator. Fred Clark, who was the CEO at the time, said, "Randy, look, can you reach out to colleges in central Pennsylvania and establish relationships so that we can help students understand what we do and encourage them to check us out as a potential employer?" So I've been working on that, and now I spend more than half my time with college recruiting. And although I don't actually interview or hire, my job is to establish relationships with colleges and universities, tech schools, and also we've moved into quite a few central Pennsylvania high schools with the intent of helping them with, it's more philanthropic, to help them with career awareness information so that they can make wise decisions. So with that, if Chris, could I just ask those who are participating if they have anything specific that they would, they've joined us to hear, to make sure I address that?
Yes, Randy, absolutely. They could either enter it into the chat box and I can facilitate their comments, or you are all happy to unmute yourselves if you have any questions or comments for Randy. That's fine. Right now, I don't have anything in the chat box right now.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I just wanted to make sure before we get started here.
Oh, I think Alexa has something.
I mean, Randy, obviously, we chatted a little bit earlier, but we're all looking for, what is your plan? Do you have a virtual plan? How should we be directing our students to you?
Okay. Yeah, we are one of those businesses that have stayed active because we provide equipment and supplies for any food service facility. So all of those restaurants that are able to stay open, all of those hospitals and retirement homes and any facility, prisons that offer and provide food for people staying with them or for the public, we've been supporting them. And we are, of course, like everyone else, we've had to move to virtual formats for interviewing and for face-to-face meetings with our clients and customers. But we are still actively looking for employees. We have, to be quite honest with you, we only have 3 current internships in this area, summer internships that are still open at this point. All the rest of them have been filled, and our hope, and of course everything's still up in the air, it's based on what leadership in our communities decide is appropriate, but we're hoping that once some of the restrictions are lifted, we will be able to get our internship program physically in place with all of our students coming to our facilities starting in June. So that's our plan at this point. All of our applications should be processed through our website. There's a career page on our website, and that's not different than in any other time. We ask that all potential candidates for positions with us apply online, and that can be found on the careers page of the Clark Associates website.
Do you have a virtual plan? Because right now, Penn State, the guidelines are for summer are saying the internships need to be virtual.
Yeah, and
we opportunity, not plan. Yeah.
Yeah, we understand that the internships that are being connected for credit through all of the universities and colleges in Pennsylvania anyway, have made that, stand. They are with that position. All of our interns right now are really not for credit at their universities. So the plan is to be coming to us. Now, if we are working 100% from home right now, if that was the case, we have to shift gears a little bit. Some of our internships that are already in place, already hired and in place, some of them will continue. They'll be done virtually, but unfortunately, because of the training that's required and in-person training to get ready for some of those positions, even though they're only 3-month positions, some of them unfortunately will not be able to be facilitated virtually. So we're up in the air. We're still trying to be positive, hopeful that those that don't have that restriction of the college credit connection, that it is more summer employment. We call it an internship, but it's really more summer a work experience with us. We're hoping that some of those will be able to take place with the appropriate social distancing. But that all is based, again, on what happens with the state and local municipalities. I know even Lancaster, where we are, things are a little bit different because we're still seeing significant numbers compared to some of the other counties that are around us.
Randy, I have a question from a student. They say, my friend at University Park is interning with Clark Associates this summer. Just wanted to check out what your company was offering and how I could possibly get involved.
Okay. I would, if the question I want to make sure I am hearing it correctly, Chris. If the question is, the friend has an internship already in place and this person would like to see if there are other internships available, is that the question?
Yeah, that was my question.
Okay.
I applied for a couple positions on your website, and I just wanted to hear a little bit more about what you guys had to offer.
Okay. What's on the website right now is what is still available. And as of yesterday, I didn't check it this morning, and I apologize for that, there were really only 2 local positions. Now, we have some still around the country because right now, we currently are in 10 different states and we have facilities around the country. But locally, there are very few internship positions for the summer still available. I think there's one very general internship, and then there's one that is with one of our restaurant stores, which is our kind of a retail facility here in Lancaster. We have one in Harrisburg. We have 11 of them around the central Pennsylvania area. Terrence, I hope I'm answering your question. If I'm not, come back on and continue clarifying for me.
No, that's perfect. I'm looking at your website right now, so thank you for clarifying that.
Okay. And the other thing that I want to make kind of clear to everyone is this is one of the uniquenesses with Clark Associates is we are still growing at such a rate that unlike other companies who post specific positions and they hire for those specific positions, a lot of times this company hires on character and skills. So if you're interested in the company and you don't see a job that is exactly what you're looking for, I would apply for one that's close. And in the cover letter, explain what you're looking for, because honestly, they don't care what major you come from. You've got to have decent grades, but they're not the kind of company that are going to be looking for a 4.0. They understand they're looking for well-rounded people. They're really looking for character. They're looking for passion. They're looking for integrity. They're looking for kind of a sense of entrepreneurship in the sense that you want to make your own career and they want to help you grow that. So don't be put off by just the specifics of a job description. Kind of read more into that and feel free in your cover letter to explain yourself, because the hiring managers pick up on that stuff. And if they are at all interested, they're going to reach out to you, at least give you a phone interview and learn more about you. Was that helpful, Terrence?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions before we get started here? Because Chris, you have that PowerPoint, right?
Yes, I do. I have it on my desktop. Do you want me to share my screen? Or if you got it, it's fine.
If there aren't any other questions, we'll get started with that, and then we can always, I would encourage anyone who's got a question while we're even presenting, just to jump in and ask it.
Sure. Give me 1 second here.
While we're waiting, just so you know too, I actually was an elementary school principal for 35 years. So this is second career for me, and my connection to Clark Associates is kind of through a friendship. Gene Clark, who is now the CEO of Clark Associates, his father, Fred, and I were parents of kids that went to school together. And when I was getting ready to retire from education, I asked Fred if he would make some time to have coffee with me, and I knew he was in business and I had spent 35 years in public education. I just wanted to see what his thoughts were on what I might be able to do beyond that. And through that, months, I mean, it wasn't an immediate, here's a job for you. In fact, he told me, you're one of those warm and fuzzy school people, and I'm a business guy, and I don't really see a good fit for us. But he directed me to the nonprofit world, which 9 months later, I ended up in the nonprofit world back at Clark Associates, because they actually have their own charitable foundation. So the lesson for everyone in that is network. You never know, when you talk to people, you never know what might come of it. Clark Associates is actually a family of companies. What gets a little confusing is you hear Clark or you see Clark, and then you see others, and can't quite make sense of what it is that goes together. So I wanted to try to share with you all of the different companies that fall under the umbrella of Clark Associates. Chris, can you go to the next one?
Sure. There we go.
It actually started back in 1971 as an electrical contracting company. So there were 6 electricians that did work in Lancaster, and it has now, that's okay, you can go to the next one, that's great. It has now morphed into something much different than an electrical contracting company. In fact, Clark Associates doesn't do that kind of work anymore. Now, all of the companies that are part of Clark Associates are in the food service industry, and they support all of the food service industry across the country. It's actually 49 years now that we've been in place. There are about 3,400 employees. When I started just 4.5 years ago, there were only 900 employees. So we have literally tripled in size. We're in 10 different states. And we distribute a little over 330,000 items. So anything that a restaurant or a food service facility could want, we've got. Everything from napkins to tableware to walk-in freezers. Literally, if you go on the one of the company websites, the restaurant store website or Webstaurant store website, and you look at all those, it's like we're like the Amazon of the food service industry.
Randy, do you mind if I ask, with all of the changes going on right now, is Clark looking into producing any kind of personal protection equipment? Oh,
we have a whole portion of what you can buy online, because we have a cleaning company chemical company. So yeah, we got wiped out before this thing even got started with the hand sanitizers, but we have all the cleaning products that a food service facility could use too. So yeah, all that stuff we don't manufacture it, we distribute it. So we establish relationships with vendors, with manufacturers, and then we actually distribute it. A lot of the products we've branded. We have probably, oh my gosh, I think we have like 75 branded products now that we put our brands on, brand labels on, so they've kind of become ours, but we don't actually physically make them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh.
We'll just skip by that one because that was, there you go. So when I was talking about getting confused with all of the names, here are some of the companies that fall under the auspices of Clark Associates. Clark Food Service Equipment is one, 11400 is another, Clark National Accounts, Webstaurant Store, Restaurant Store, Hometown Provisions, and then some of our other companies, like the one that we were just talking about, Chris, the chemicals, that falls under Noble. And then because we own all our own properties, we actually have a holding company for all of our real estate. And then we have what we call Clark Associates Business Services, and that's kind of the backbone of all of the companies. That's a group within the company that provides all of the accounting and the financial support for the company. They take care of safety, payroll, all the business aspects of the company are taken care of through that. And we're going to go back and talk about each one of these different divisions of the company. Chris, go ahead. Thank you. So Webstaurant Store is a division of the company. It is the e-commerce division. So it is the Amazon of the food service industry with over 330,000 items. It was started in 2004 with 3 employees, and now they have, I think at last count, and we're going to go through this in the next slide, they have warehouses, I think, in 7 or 8 different states, and they did last year $1.8 billion in sales. So this is a website that is growing exponentially. And it's going to be interesting to see how we come out of this COVID situation, because I got some information just recently that because competitors have not had the infrastructure, the technology infrastructure to support ongoing work through this time, we may actually be picking up more work afterwards, because unfortunately, will benefit by some of the challenges that some other competitive companies are experiencing through this COVID-19 situation. Chris, can you go to the next one? So Restaurant Store is our cash and carry. This is like a Home Depot or a Lowe's. Home Depot takes care of home building supplies. Our restaurant stores are big warehouse stores that restaurants can physically go to and pick out everything that they would need for their facilities. And the benefit here would be, if you can go pick it up yourself, you can avoid the cost of shipping. And also you can get it immediately. So if, for example, in Lancaster, I would say probably 95% of the restaurants and food service vendors, that would be caterers and churches, any organization that's making food or distributing food, they are connected here because, again, it's not only convenient, but because of the volume of purchasing that we're doing, we always have the lowest price, and that's also helping us too with competition. Next one, Chris. Clark Food Service Equipment is the division of the company that actually designs and then manages the building of food service facilities. So if there is a restaurant to be built, or like at Penn State, at any of your campuses and all your campuses, you have coffee shops, you have cafes, you have cafeterias. We can go in and actually design that, oversee the construction of that, and then provide all of the equipment and supplies to take care of that. We did a project about 1.5 years ago down at Indiana University, Pennsylvania. It's about a $2 million, maybe $2.5 million project. I had the opportunity to see it last year because I went down for a couple of career fairs, and it was just beautiful. So Clark Food Service Equipment, that's a division that actually builds and designs food service facilities. Next one. So if you can just skip on to the next one here. This shows you in the beginning, in 2004, that we had just one distribution center for all of our businesses, and that was here in Lancaster. And if you go to the next one, we skip a few years. This is last year, and you can see now we've got several of our distribution centers scattered around the country, and with the intent of being competitive so that we could very quickly get to all of the customers that would be ordering from us. Now, most of these outside of Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, most of those are going to be purchases that have been made through our website. Next one, Chris. And this just shows you a graph of the kind of sales growth that the company has had. So you can see back in 2009, we were about 81 million. And last year, actually, we surpassed what's on the chart here, and we're at closer to $2 billion in sales. Next one. And there you go. So when we talk about culture, it means a lot of different things to different people, but what the company values, and I think what employees who come to work with us value, are hard work and accountability. Coming from public education, there were a lot of people that that worked hard. Teachers work really hard. The difference, though, is the accountability piece. With a company like ours, there is no doing a mediocre job. The expectation is you come in and you do the best job that you can. And with that comes a lot of growth, opportunity, career opportunity, that you don't necessarily see in a lot of other companies. They have built pathways for employees so they can move from company to company or just develop new positions. They're constantly creating new positions as the company grows. And they don't care how old you are. They don't care how much experience you've had. As a teacher, I was considered a new teacher or a new principal years after I was in the business. But here, you could, if you have the skills and you have the passion and you demonstrate that you can do a job, they will offer you and put you in pretty responsible positions pretty quickly. I know I talked to a couple of the other, through our CPEC organization, a couple of the other employers, and they said, you know, we have a career path, but there's definitely a ladder and a time frame, and it takes a while to get here. it's a very unique difference between that and Clark Associates, because they are giving young people quite a bit of responsibility very quickly if they can show that they have the work ethic and will be accountable for the work that they do. The company offers ongoing professional development that's going to be appropriate and necessary for each of the jobs. And the entire company feels that it's important to give back. If you do well, it's important to give back, which is the other piece of my job. Is we give back financially to the community, but we also have a very intentional volunteer program where we encourage employees to those organizations. For example, here in Lancaster, we have a shelter. It's called Water Street Rescue Mission. And although we support them financially, a lot of our employees also give of their time to help Water Street as a volunteer. Next one. So we're going to talk about all the different kinds of opportunities. There's not a lot that we don't do. We don't do anything. We don't employ other third-party people to do anything for the company. We just, if we see a need for something, we find the right people to do it ourselves. So as far as IT goes and development, our company is kind of a tech company within a company. They develop all their own software, all their own applications. We have everything from help desk to sophisticated coding and software development. We have all of the business accounting positions, admin support. We even now have, when I first started, we didn't have this, but we have a childcare center. So we're actually hiring childcare people, and they're looking for certified teachers for that. Content are actually our writers. Everything that's viewed on our website is written or rewritten by one of our content developers. We talked about our design and construction group. We talked about distribution. We have warehouse positions at all different levels, everything from packers to warehouse managers, distribution managers, which that's a very sophisticated, it's a really sophisticated operation. If you look at any of the huge warehouses, it's not just a bunch of goofballs throwing things in boxes. It's very sophisticated because they are managing time and managing literally tens of thousands of purchases every single day. We have our own photography team and videography team because everything on the websites are photographed, and we put videos together that hopefully are helpful for learning more about the products and how to use them, how to put them together. We have a marketing group, and we have a huge procurement group. They're the ones that are purchasing all those 330,000 items, and they're purchasing from all around the world. So people in our purchasing department find it really interesting. A lot of our international business students find a home in purchasing. We do a lot of purchasing overseas. So if you have a language interest or ability, sometimes you find a home there. But procurement team is constantly growing. And then also customer solutions, our customer service group. Very professional group of people that are helping all of our customers to make sure all of their purchases are taken care of responsibly. Next one.
Oh, Randy, do you mind if I ask?
Yeah.
Does Clark Associates have any international offices or locations? Not
at this point. I never say never with the company because things always change. But to answer the question, do we have any offices? No. All our offices right now are currently in the United States.
Okay, thank you.
This just kind of shows you when you're thinking about applying to the company, how it works. On an average year, we've been getting about 45,000 applications through our online application management system. Of those, and again, these are just numbers that the group that put this PowerPoint together pulled out. So they're somewhat different, but of the 45,000, about 5,000 or 6,000 end up getting phone interviews. And of those, about 5,000, 5 to 5,500 end up getting in-person interviews. So I think the lesson here is there's lots of people applying for jobs, not just with Clark Associates, but everywhere. So you've got to do something to make yourself stand out. And for us, it's going to be not only a really well-written resume, but it's also going to be a very, very well-written, intentional cover letter to accompany that resume that speaks specifically to the job that you're applying for. And that gets very frustrating, I know, when you're looking at lots of different jobs and you're applying for them. But when a hiring manager sees your resume, sees your application come through, if there's literally tens of thousands of other ones coming through and yours looks very generic or sounds very generic, it's not going to, there's nothing that's going to grab them. So for us, since we're looking at character and we're looking at skills in those cover letters and in those resumes, what we want to see is a well-rounded person. We want you to put in, since we value volunteering, if you have volunteered, we want to know about your work experiences because that shows that you're a hard worker. You know, if you work in high school, some people might advise you don't put that in a resume, you know, a college resume, but we would encourage you to because it shows a pattern of work that you worked hard even prior to going to college. If you're an Eagle Scout, you know, put it in there. If you're involved in sports, if you've had any kinds of involvement in the college, clubs and things, put it all in there. We find that valuable because that shows us that you are not just an academic, but you're a well-rounded person. And that's valuable to us because people don't work in isolation. People work in teams. People work with other people. And we're looking for those that have those abilities. Okay, next one. This is not accurate right now. Like I said, we don't have, this is accurate in the sense that we have these internships, but they're not all available right now. So we have internships in all different divisions of the company, but right now we're at a place for the summer if we're able to even get that in place. But, so you can see there are possibilities for future, and I don't know students where you are in your time at Penn State, but whether you're a freshman or a junior, there's future opportunities possibly for you for internships if you'd be interested. Next one. So we already talked about this a little bit. I'm often asked, well, how do I get ready? How do I prepare? What should I be thinking about? We talked about being active. It's also important to know yourself because if you get the opportunity to talk to someone on the phone, a phone interview, and then hopefully an in-person interview, the hiring managers are going to be impressed if you have a good balance of confidence, knowing yourself and knowing what your interests really are. They don't like wishy-washy people. You know yourself, know how to articulate what you want, where you want to go, what you've done, what skills you have that are relevant to that particular job. Goes without saying, you know, do your best in school. And also for some of the younger students that are still working through the summer, good family friend of ours was a lifeguard for years as a high school student. And he was planning to just continue to be a lifeguard. Not that that's not a good job, but he was in business at Temple. And I said to him, you know, if you continue to do that, you're not going to be able, there are really valuable internship work experiences out there for you now that you've gotten out of high school. It's fun to be a lifeguard, but if you can find a more meaningful work experience in the summer, an internship, it's going to look much, much better for you on your resume. So I would say any meaningful work experiences can not only be helpful for your resume, but can also provide you with some real insights into work and what you like to do and what you don't like to do. And I don't know how many more slides we've got here, Chris. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Questions?
I am going to stop the share for the presentation. Okay, and yeah, open it up to questions from everyone.
I have a question. Aside from internships, is it possible for students out of college to get like an entry-level position through the company?
Those graduating, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. The internships would be for students that would be freshmen, sophomore, juniors, or going into your senior year, a junior into your senior year. But if you're graduating, we want you as an employee. So we're not going to put you in an internship because that's really kind of a get acquainted work experience. Nicole, am I answering your question?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
So you talked a lot about the growth at Clark Associates.
Mm-hmm.
What are some steps that they are taking right now to continue that growth in the future?
The only thing holding them back right now is finding enough good people that are a good company fit. Now, prior to this COVID situation, we had been concerned about physical spaces in our buildings. Our parking lots are like jammed, and the office buildings were, just all of the desks were filled. But what we've learned through this experience is that we can work just as effectively. At least 80% of our employees can work just as effectively from a remote location. So that may actually be information that will help us in growing, because we felt restricted, particularly in Lancaster, by the size of our office space. And now we're thinking, you know what, we need to think more about desk sharing and offering those that want to work from home remotely an opportunity to do that full time, because some have expressed doing that. It's much easier for them, or they live a distance and they've been commuting, but would prefer, now it's been proven that they can be just as effective and enjoy it. So am I answering the question?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. I think in a lot of ways, it's just, we're opening a new distribution center up in Bloomsburg right now. And when we do that in a community, now they're not going to be rural high-paying jobs. A lot of them are, there's going to be middle management, there's going to be entry-level positions, but we're looking at all of a sudden opening a facility and there's 400 jobs. Right now down in Tampa, Florida, we've opened, actually, it's been open for a year now, a facility where we're looking for software developers and customer solutions representatives. And they have enough space down there to hire about 300 more people. We are opening 2 new restaurant stores. Each of those restaurant stores employ about 40 to 60 people. And we're thinking the restaurant store leadership is looking at 30 stores by 2030. So they're going to probably create a new hub of physical restaurant stores somewhere down in Florida or North Carolina in the coming decade. So the growth is just kind of continuing, because we've got some really, I'm the old guy here. We got some really young, smart people that just have an incredible mind for business. And they were right. I'm not a business guy. I'm the elementary school teacher guy, but I can appreciate what they're doing, and they're growing incredibly.
Thank you, Randy. I really appreciate your feedback, and I really appreciate your input for this presentation. This was wonderful. I was just wondering if anyone else had any other thoughts or other questions for Randy.
If anyone does, they can contact me, or contact anyone at the company. We're always looking for those who have an interest.
Randy, would you like me to enter your email into the chat box?
That would be great.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you for your time today.
Yeah, you're welcome. I appreciate you making the time.
Of course.
Thanks, Randy. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Hope to see you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye now. Bye, Chris.
Bye, thank you. Thank you everyone for signing on. I'm gonna stop the recording now, but then I will enter the Randy's email into the chat box for you.